Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing the dusty penny sitting at the bottom is worth more than a luxury home. Sounds far-fetched? Well, thousands of Americans have discovered that a common-looking coin they carried in childhood is now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in the rarest cases, millions. And today, we're diving into one of the most surprising treasures of them all. The 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat penny, a coin that quietly circulates in change jars, estate boxes, and forgotten coffee tins, yet has reached a staggering current market value of $941,000 in top condition. Yes, almost $1 million from a single cent. If that made your heart skip a beat, stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change the way you look at every coin you've ever saved. Before we talk value, let's step back and uncover the hidden story behind the small copper coin. Picture America in 1941. The nation stood on the edge of World War II. Materials were tight. Every resource mattered. Even a simple penny had purpose. Yet minting continued, and over 887 million Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark. On paper, that sounds like an enormous number. But here's the twist. Most of these pennies lived hard lives. They circulated for decades, were scratched, dented, left in pockets, run through washing machines, dropped in parking lots, and spent into oblivion. The ones that survived in exceptional condition, they are incredibly rare. And when something becomes rare, it becomes desirable. And when something becomes desirable, it becomes valuable. Extremely valuable. Collectors today aren't just buying coins. They're buying history, scarcity, nostalgia, and status. They're buying the emotional power of owning a perfect piece of America's past. And that's why, in recent years, the 1941 Lincoln penny has skyrocketed into the wealth-building spotlight. High-grade examples have stunned the market, with dramatic price increases, intense auction bidding wars, and unexpected six-figure sales. A pristine specimen sold for $941,000, making ordinary people richer almost overnight. This is where fear and excitement collide. Fear of missing out, and excitement about possibility. And if you're holding old pennies in a box somewhere, you might already be sitting on an opportunity without even knowing it. What exactly makes one of these 1941 pennies worth nearly $1 million? Isn't a penny just a penny? Good question. And here's where the story deepens. The determining factor is condition, grade, how well the coin has survived the decades. A top-graded 1941 penny must be nearly flawless to command a fortune. No scratches, no spots, no dullness, no wear, sharp lines, crisp details. That legendary wheat ear reverse shining as clearly as it did the moment it left the press. A coin like this is so rare that you could search through thousands of circulated pennies and never find one close to it. And that rarity creates urgency. Because once collectors realize how few high-grade examples exist, they chase them with wallets wide open. And here's the cliffhanger. Many people have discovered valuable pennies without realizing they had them for years. One man found an ultra-rare penny in a bag he picked up at a yard sale for $5. Another family discovered their grandfather's coin jars held cents that sold for more than a college education. So ask yourself, what's sitting in your home right now? What's hiding in that dusty drawer? What's waiting in the attic, untouched for decades? But condition isn't the only factor. Errors matter too. The 1941 no-mint mark penny has known die variations, striking irregularities, off-center errors, double dies, and planchet issues that can elevate a coin's value dramatically. Imagine finding one with a visible doubling on the motto or the year. Suddenly, that simple penny becomes a gold mine. And yes, these error coins can cross into the hundreds of thousands. Suddenly, hunting for pennies becomes less like a hobby and more like treasure hunting. Who knew wealth could be hiding inside something so small? Let's pause for a moment because now the fear kicks in. How many rare coins have been unknowingly spent on groceries? How many have slipped through generations? How many have vanished simply because someone didn't know what they were holding? That's the danger of ignorance. And that's the power of knowledge. Knowing what to look for can turn you from an accidental spender into a strategic seller. But let's get back to value. The sweet spot for the 1941 penny lies not just in rarity but in the emotional energy behind it. Collectors want connection. They want to own something that whispers stories of World War II ration lines, American resilience, and the industrial heartbeat of a nation that was about to turn the tide of history. This emotional weight adds fuel to the bidding fire. And when wealthy collectors compete, prices can jump faster than you can blink. That's exactly how we saw sales climb toward the $1 million mark. And if you think that's the ceiling, think again. As more collectors enter the market, as more older generations downsize, and as more rare coins disappear into private collections, scarcity intensifies, which means values could climb even higher. But here's the moment where urgency sets in. The window for finding high-value coins is shrinking. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or hoarded away permanently. But millions of Americans still have boxes of old pennies tucked away. The opportunity is real. The timing is now. And the potential rewards? Life-changing. If you're still watching, here's your next big question. How do you know if your 1941 penny is valuable? First, inspect it under bright light. Look for sharpness in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. Look at the wheat stalks on the back. Are they crisp or worn down? Check for doubling, especially on Liberty and In God We Trust. Look for cleanliness and original mint luster. If the coin has a rich, even copper glow, with no discoloration or scratches, you might be holding something special. And remember this, grading matters. A professional grading service can transform a coin's price from pocket change to luxury-level wealth. It's the difference between guessing and knowing. Still, here's a fun moment to lighten things up. Have you ever looked at a penny and thought, if only you could talk, what stories would you tell? Then again, most of them would just complain about being stepped on, dropped in parking lots, and forgotten in cars. But every now and then, one of them is a superstar hiding in plain sight. And that leads us to an exciting truth. Even if you don't find the $1 million example, high-quality 1941 pennies still sell for hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine selling a coin for enough to pay off debt, start a small business, upgrade your lifestyle, or invest in opportunities you once thought were out of reach. This is more than a coin. It's a stepping stone toward financial freedom. That's why collectors and sellers alike are rushing to understand the market while these opportunities still exist. As we near the end, let me leave you with one final thought. We live in a world where opportunity often hides in unexpected places. Wealth isn't always found in bank accounts or investment portfolios. Sometimes it's hiding in the smallest corners of your home. Sometimes it weighs just 3.11 grams. Sometimes it's a penny from 1941. So the next time you open that old drawer, the next time you find a jar of coins, the next time you stumble upon something that seems ordinary, take a closer look. Because ordinary things can hold extraordinary value. And your path to wealth might begin with something as simple as a cent now. Go check your pennies. Your future might be waiting inside one of them. If you want, I can also create a shorter version, a thumbnail title, a voiceover pacing guide, or a description for this video. If I told you that a single penny hiding in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or even the bottom of a dusty garage box could change your life forever, would you believe me? Because today we're diving into the world of the 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, a coin so ordinary-looking that most people would walk right past it, yet rare enough in certain conditions to reach a staggering current market value of $944,000. Yes, a penny worth nearly $1 million. And the truth is, one of these coins may already be in your home. The only question is whether you'll find it before someone else does. The story of this coin begins during a time when America was emerging from the shadows of World War II. Factories were running at full speed, copper was returning to circulation, and millions of pennies were minted. It was a year of transition, and as strange as it feels, moments of transition are when mistakes happen, anomalies appear, and opportunities are born. That is exactly how the most valuable 1944 pennies came into existence. A tiny misalignment here, an unusual die there, a slightly different alloy. Nothing that would catch the eye of a hurried worker in 1944, but everything that matters to collectors today. Funny how history has a way of rewarding the careful, the curious, and sometimes the lucky. But before we dig into the most valuable varieties, think about this. How many times have you held a penny without even looking at the date? How often have you tossed a cent into a jar thinking it was too small to matter? What if one of those pennies was worth more than your car, your mortgage, or even your retirement plan? It sounds dramatic, but thousands of Americans have discovered rare coins this way. Some found them while downsizing, others while reorganizing their attic. One person even discovered a rare penny in an envelope their grandmother had labeled simply old coins. $1 million surprise wrapped in paper older than they were. Makes you wonder what might be waiting for you, doesn't it? The 1944 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is already desirable because it's from the wheat penny era, a period many collectors love for its bold design and historical weight. But the true excitement comes from its rare high-value versions, coins that collectors fight over and wealthy buyers quietly chase at private auctions. These elite specimens can reach values most people would never expect from a coin that originally cost 1 cent. The charm is that no one can tell by a casual glance. You have to know what to look for, and that is exactly what separates a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth nearly $1 million. Some of the most valuable versions include those struck on leftover 1943 steel planchets. Yes, a 1944 penny made of steel instead of copper. You'd think something like that would be obvious, but many people overlook them because they simply assume the coin is dirty or discolored. Imagine tossing a steel 1944 penny into a change jar without a second thought. There's a little fear in that thought, isn't there? The fear of missing out on life-changing money sitting in a drawer. But that fear is the same emotion that motivates thousands of collectors and sellers to check every old penny they can find. The highest recorded sale for a 1944 no-mint Mark penny reached an incredible $944,000, and experts believe that exceptional examples could break the $1 million mark as more investors enter the rare coin market. Wealthy buyers are pouring into collectibles because physical assets feel safer in a world where prices rise, markets fall, and digital money seems to float in the clouds. And that means the demand for ultra-rare pennies is climbing fast. When demand rises and supply stays fixed, prices only move in one direction. Opportunities like this don't wait around forever. And just imagine the emotional impact of uncovering such a treasure. Picture sitting at your kitchen table, the soft glow of a lamp on a handful of old coins, and suddenly realizing that the penny you're holding isn't just old. It's extraordinary. People describe it as a rush of adrenaline, an electric shock of excitement. Some feel disbelief, others feel grateful. A few even feel a little shaky, almost laughing at the idea that a single coin could turn their entire financial world upside down. One thing is certain. No one forgets the moment they discover a rare penny. Of course, the path from finding to selling is where things get interesting. Many buyers today are quietly searching for high-grade 1944 pennies, but they only want professionally authenticated coins. Grading agencies like PCGS and NGC assign these coins the credibility that serious buyers demand. Without grading, your penny might be rare. With grading, it becomes valuable. With a top grade, it becomes unforgettable. Smooth surfaces, crisp details, even the presence of minting errors can push prices into the hundreds of thousands. It's fascinating how perfection or intentional imperfection can become so desirable. If you've never had a coin graded before, you might wonder whether the process is difficult or expensive. Surprisingly, it isn't. And as values climb, more people are choosing to submit their coins. There's a bit of excitement in not knowing what grade your coin will receive, almost like opening a sealed lottery ticket. What if your coin comes back as a high-grade gem? What if it lands in the elite category that wealthy collectors compete for? It's moments like these that turn ordinary sellers into success stories. But here's where things get urgent. The rare coin market does not stay the same forever. As older generations pass down their collections, more coins start surfacing. The more coins appear, the more the market adjusts. Values can spike quickly, but they can also settle. If you have a 1944 penny hiding in a drawer, you may be sitting on a ticking timeline. The window of highest value is open now. No one can promise how long it will stay open, and that little bit of fear of waiting too long, might be the push you need to finally check your coins. Still, excitement is the heart of this journey. You're not just searching for a penny. You're searching for possibility, for a chance to elevate your lifestyle, secure your future, or create a moment your family will talk about for generations. The wealthy don't wait for luck. They position themselves to catch opportunities. And holding a rare penny worth nearly $1 million is exactly the kind of opportunity that can change everything. Imagine the moment you realize you have something valuable. Imagine calling your family into the room, everyone leaning in, eyes widening as you explain what you've found. Imagine the conversations that follow, plans, dreams, ideas. Maybe you pay off debt. Maybe you upgrade your home. Maybe you take that vacation you've postponed for years. A tiny bronze coin could turn into a new chapter of your life. And yes, it sounds almost unbelievable. But the most extraordinary real-life stories always do. As you move forward, keep one thing in mind. You don't need to be an expert to uncover a treasure. You just need curiosity and the willingness to look closely. The 1944 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is a symbol of possibility, a reminder that life-changing wealth can hide in small places, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Maybe this is your moment. Before you rush off to empty every coin jar in your home, though I wouldn't blame you, remember one last thing. The rarest treasures are found by people who take action. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. So check your pennies, examine your collections, and look closely at every 1944 you find. Because somewhere out there, another person is holding a penny worth nearly $1 million. And the only question left is, will the next one be you? Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that the dusty old penny sitting in a jar on your shelf is worth more than your house. Sounds unbelievable, right? But stay with me because today we're diving into the astonishing world of the 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny. A humble 1-cent coin that has taken collectors by storm, with rare specimens now selling for up to a staggering $946,000. And yes, some valuations even reach into the millions. If you've been searching for a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight, you're exactly where you need to be. Welcome to a story where ordinary Americans uncover extraordinary wealth, often from coins they never realized were special. But before you rush to that jar of pennies, there's something you need to understand. This isn't just about a coin. It's about what it represents. Timing, rarity, and the chance to seize a moment that may never come again. And as you listen carefully to the details of this 1946 Lincoln penny, you might start to wonder, have you been sitting on your own hidden treasure all along? The journey of this coin begins in an era of transformation. America had just emerged from World War II. Industries were shifting, metals were scarce, and the U.S. Mint was working nonstop to return coin production to normal. The 1946 penny seems ordinary at first glance. The iconic wheat reverse, Abraham Lincoln's solemn portrait, and the familiar copper tone. No mint mark beneath the date, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Tens of millions were produced, but here's where the story turns. Why would a coin with such high mintage be worth nearly $1 million today? Why would even circulated pieces command jaw-dropping prices? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, survival quality, and dramatic errors that appeared only in a handful of coins. And these rare variations are exactly what collectors, investors, and wealthy buyers are fighting over. This is where the value begins to skyrocket. But before we get into what makes these coins so valuable, consider this. Most people who own these pennies have no idea what they're holding. Many Americans growing up between the 1950s and 1980s kept handfuls of wheat pennies, tossing them into drawers, coffee cans, or old boxes. Some were passed down from parents or grandparents. Some were found in pocket change. Those pennies, possibly including a rare 1946 no-mint mark error, might now be worth more than gold. So ask yourself, what if you've been holding one for years without knowing it? Collectors look for extremely fine details. The most valuable versions of the 1946 penny include coins that were struck with unusually sharp dies, leaving crisp, flawless details that almost glow under proper lighting. Then there are the dramatic mint errors, double dies, off-center strikes, and transitional composition oddities created during the post-war metal adjustment period. A perfect coin with one of these traits can fetch staggering prices. One specimen recently hit the $946,000 mark at auction. Nearly $1 million for a single cent. Imagine flipping over a penny in your hand and realizing it could erase your mortgage, buy you a luxury car, or fund an early retirement. But here's where the real thrill begins. These ultra-valuable coins don't look obviously special. They're not made of silver or encased in glass. They simply appear normal. And that is exactly why so many people overlook them. Fear of missing out starts to creep in when you think of how many of these coins have been spent, lost, or forgotten since 1946. The idea that wealth has been slipping through people's fingers for decades adds an urgency that savvy collectors never ignore. Every day, more of these rare pennies disappear into private collections, and the supply of top-condition pieces becomes even smaller. Now, let's step deeper into the world of grading and condition, because this is where fortunes are made. The difference between a penny worth 10 cents and one worth almost $1 million comes down to a handful of factors: untouched surfaces, sharp edges, glowing luster, and the absence of scratches or handling marks. A 1946 penny graded at the highest level, a perfect, pristine state, can command life-changing prices. And no, you don't need to be a professional to start evaluating your own coins. You just need curiosity, good lighting, and a willingness to inspect what might be the most valuable penny you'll ever hold. But what about those error varieties? Here's where things get both exciting and a little nerve-wracking. Some 1946 pennies show doubling on the date or lettering, which creates a shadow-like effect that can be mesmerizing. Others were struck off-center, leaving part of the design missing. And a few extraordinary pieces were created with leftover wartime planchets, different metal compositions that should no longer have been used. These are the coins that collectors lose sleep over, the coins that trigger bidding wars, and the coins that can push prices from thousands into hundreds of thousands. And beyond that, if you're beginning to feel a twinge of excitement or maybe anxiety, that's perfectly natural. Most people in your position feel a mix of both. Because once you realize everyday objects can hold massive hidden value, you start to see your surroundings differently. You start imagining what's possible. You start believing that wealth isn't only found in investments, businesses, or luck. Sometimes, it's found in something as small and overlooked as a 1-cent coin. But here's the twist. The window of opportunity is shrinking. As more collectors hunt down these rare 1946 pennies, fewer remain in circulation or in unsearched coin jars. Prices continue to climb, especially for coins with exceptional grading results. And as wealthy buyers enter the market, people who see rare coins as investments rather than collectibles, values can surge almost overnight. That means the best time to check your pennies was yesterday. The next best time is right now. If you're wondering whether it's worth the effort to start searching, consider this. Countless people have uncovered unexpected wealth from everyday coins. Stories surface year after year. Someone finds a rare penny in change, a forgotten coin book reveals a treasure, or a family inheritance turns out to contain a 6-figure surprise. These stories aren't fairy tales. They're real, and they happen to regular people who simply decided to look.so. How do you know if your 1946 penny could be the next headline maker? Start by examining the date. Make sure there's no mint mark beneath it. Look closely at the edges, the lettering, and Lincoln's portrait. Does the coin shine with an unusual brilliance? Are the details razor sharp? Do you notice any doubling or misalignment? These small clues could be worth more than you ever imagined. And before we wrap up, there's one more cliffhanger worth mentioning. Just when experts believed the highest possible values had already been reached for the 1946 penny, a newly discovered specimen surfaced in such extraordinary condition that collectors whispered it could break previous records entirely. Imagine the shock it caused. Imagine the auction houses preparing for a showdown. And imagine the owner, someone who never expected to hold a coin worth more than most luxury homes. If one person can stumble onto that kind of miracle, what's stopping the next person from being you? In the end, this isn't just a story about a rare penny. It's a story about potential, opportunity, and paying attention to the little things. Because sometimes the smallest things change your life forever. As you go through your coins, remember that wealth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers from the copper edge of a forgotten cent, waiting for the right person to listen. And now that you know what to look for, the question lingers in the air. Which of your pennies might be worth a fortune? What if one small coin, forgotten for decades, could change your financial future in a single moment? Today, we're diving into one of the most surprising stories in American coinage, a story full of mystery, rarity, and life-changing value. And at the center of it all is the 1950 Mint Mark Lincoln penny, an unassuming bronze coin that has shocked collectors by selling for as much as $950,000 in today's market. Yes, $950,000. Suddenly, that penny jar doesn't seem so boring anymore, does it? Some people walk past wealth every day without knowing it. Some clean out a drawer and accidentally throw away a fortune. And some, just a lucky few, discover that a penny they kept for sentimental reasons is actually worth more than luxury cars, beach homes, or even their entire retirement account. So stay with me until the end, because what you learn today might not only help you identify a rare treasure, but may open the door to a wealth-building opportunity many people overlook. And I promise, the most shocking detail is waiting for you in the final seconds. The journey of the 1950 Lincoln penny begins in an era when America was rebuilding, growing, and shifting into a new chapter. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies that year, and on the surface, there's nothing unusual about that. But here's where the story takes a turn. Among those coins, a tiny fraction, just a microscopic percentage, left the mint with exceptional striking quality, flawless surfaces, or unique errors that made them drastically more valuable than the everyday penny. Imagine millions of coins rolling off machinery, and only a handful emerging in nearly perfect condition. It's like finding a diamond in a mountain of sand. Collectors today aren't paying for the metal. They're paying for the perfection, the rarity, the impossible combination of time, preservation, and luck. That's why a normal 1950 penny might be worth just a couple of dollars. But a rare high-grade example, preserved in pristine condition for more than 70 years, has shattered expectations, hitting values as high as $950,000. Let that sink in. Something that once bought bubble gum or a newspaper is now powerful enough to buy a new home. What makes people want these coins so badly? Part of it is the story, part of it is history, and part of it is fear. Fear of missing out. Fear that someone else might find the fortune you overlooked. And honestly, who wouldn't feel a little uneasy knowing a penny sitting in a drawer right now could be the key to generational wealth? The penny's design plays a key role too. The 1950 Lincoln penny features the iconic wheat reverse, the classic design loved by collectors for its beauty and nostalgia. Those wheat stalks symbolize prosperity, harvest, and abundance, fitting for a coin that now represents financial opportunity. And the tiny D mint mark under the date? That letter is the dividing line between a normal coin and one that could transform your bank account. But rarity alone isn't enough. The real magic happens when you combine rarity with condition. Human hands, pockets, dirt, sunlight, and time destroy coins more than anything else. Every scratch, every fingerprint, every mark subtracts value. Finding a 1950 penny in flawless condition is like finding an unopened time capsule from 1950, untouched by the world. That's why the highest grades certified by PCGS and NGC, typically coins preserved in original rolls, mint sets, or long-forgotten collections, become the stars of record-breaking auctions. And here's something many people don't know. Some of the most expensive 1950 pennies weren't discovered by experts. They were found by ordinary people. Teachers, retirees, veterans, homeowners cleaning out old boxes. People who picked up a penny, looked closer, and realized they were holding something extraordinary. Doesn't that make you wonder what might be hiding in your home right now? Before you assume your coin is worthless, take a breath. Because even pennies that don't reach $950,000 can still bring in thousands. High-grade examples routinely sell for $10,000, $20,000, sometimes even more depending on their strike and originality. The trick is knowing what signs to look for. And each of the clues I'm about to reveal can be the difference between selling your coin for pocket change or walking away with a life-changing check. Look closely at the coin's color and surface. A brilliant, original red tone means the coin retained its original copper luster. This alone can multiply the value dramatically. The fewer marks, the sharper the details, the clearer Lincoln's profile, the more collectors become willing to fight over it at auction. And yes, they do fight. Bidding wars over these coins can get intense, emotional, and shockingly competitive. Why? Because wealthy collectors know that once a perfect example appears, it might be decades, sometimes generations, before another one surfaces. That sense of urgency drives up the price. And it's the same urgency you should feel right now if you own a 1950 penny. Because the market for rare coins is hotter than ever. Buyers are actively searching. Dealers are competing. Auction houses are breaking records month after month. And the people benefiting the most? Everyday individuals who realize that rare coins aren't just collectibles. They're assets. Assets that can fund a dream lifestyle, pay off debt, or even rewrite a family's financial story. But here's the twist. Just as the market rises, counterfeiters rise with it. Scammers know the value of this coin. They know how badly people want it. That's why getting your penny authenticated is absolutely critical. A certified coin delivers confidence, trust, and credibility. Without it, buyers hesitate. With it, they open their wallets. It's the difference between doubt and a windfall. Imagine discovering your coin is genuine, high-grade, and rare. That moment, seeing the certification, realizing what you own, that moment alone is worth staying until the end of this video. And let's be honest for a second. Most people never check their change. Most people never open that old jar or dig through that dusty drawer. But wealthy people, they pay attention. They search. They study. They take action when others ignore opportunity. That's the mindset that transforms small discoveries into massive wins. It's the mindset that turns a penny into $950,000. As you think about your own coins, your own collections, your own forgotten boxes, imagine what it would feel like to find a rare treasure. Imagine the excitement of holding a six-figure coin in your hand. Imagine the power of knowing you turned something ordinary into pure wealth. Moments like that don't happen by accident. They happen because someone chose to look closer. In just a moment, I'm going to share one final detail about the 1950 penny, something that will completely change the way you look at it. But before that, let me leave you with this thought. Fortune doesn't always come dressed in gold, diamonds, luxury, or extravagance. Sometimes, fortune comes disguised as a 1-cent coin covered in dust. Sometimes it comes quietly, patiently, waiting for someone smart enough to recognize it. So here's the detail you've been waiting for. Among all known examples of the 1950 penny, there is one coin, just one, that experts believe might still be out there, hidden in someone's home somewhere in America. A coin so perfect, so flawless, so untouched, that collectors estimate it could easily cross the $1 million mark if it ever appears. No one has found it yet. No one knows where it is. But it exists, and there's always a chance. It could be yours. So check your coins. Search your jars. Open those boxes. Because sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. And the next person whose life changes from a single penny might be you. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the dusty little penny tucked away in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a childhood collection could be the key that unlocks financial freedom. It sounds unbelievable, almost like the start of a movie. But today, we're talking about one of those real-life twists that most people never see coming. Because the 1952 mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny, a coin millions of Americans once spent without a second thought, has now reached a staggering market value of up to $952,000. And in some extremely rare cases, collectors speculate it could push into the millions. Yes, millions. Suddenly that old penny jar feels a lot more interesting, doesn't it? Before you rush off to dump your coins across the kitchen table, stay with me, because what you're about to discover might just change the way you look at every penny you've ever touched. And who knows, maybe one of them is quietly waiting to rewrite your financial future. But let's not jump ahead. Just why it all begins in 1952, a year when the United States was still finding its post-war rhythm. Factories were running, the economy was shifting, and in Denver, the U.S. Mint was pressing out millions of copper Lincoln cents. Most of those pennies lived ordinary lives, rolling through laundromats, sitting inside candy shop registers, passing from hand to hand unnoticed. But a very few, were struck with remarkable precision, flawless detail, and exquisite copper brilliance. And even fewer survived the decades without scratches, dents, discoloration, or the wear of circulation. These survivors, the rarest of the rare, are the ones that today command jaw-dropping prices. Now here's where it gets exciting, and maybe a little terrifying if you think you once had one of these coins and spent it on a cup of coffee. Collectors today are intensely focused on high-grade versions of the 1952 D Lincoln penny. The most pristine examples, graded by professional services at the top of the scale, have ignited bidding wars that push prices into the hundreds of thousands. One near-perfect piece recently captured attention when its bidding surged to an astonishing $952,000. And if you're wondering what kind of person pays nearly $1 million for a single penny, well, the answer is simple. Someone who understands value, rarity, and the power of owning a piece of American history. But why this penny? Why 1952? Why the Denver Mint? And more importantly, do you have one? Stay with me. The power of this coin comes from a blend of scarcity, condition, and collector demand. Most people saved coins from the 1960s because they seemed modern and plentiful. But the early 1950s, they slipped through the cracks. Families were rebuilding, soldiers were returning home, and the mindset was on growth, not collecting. Very few people thought to stash away rolls of brand new Denver pennies. And that's exactly why these coins are so valuable today. Picture someone in 1952 tearing open a brand new roll of fresh, gleaming copper pennies. To them, it probably felt unremarkable. To us, that would be like opening a time capsule. If even a handful of those original mint state coins survived untouched, they'd be worth small fortunes today. Some of them are. And here's the twist that leaves collectors awake at night. Experts believe there are still undiscovered survivors sitting in private homes, old estates, forgotten piggy banks, and inherited jars that haven't been checked in decades. Maybe even in yours, let's take a moment to consider the emotional weight of a discovery like that. Imagine finding a coin worth more than your car, your yearly salary, or maybe even the value of your entire home. Imagine the shock, the thrill, the possibility. All from a penny that cost someone 1 cent to obtain. That's the kind of story that turns the heart of every collector, seller, and treasure hunter. But let's be honest. Not every 1952 D penny is going to put you on a yacht in Miami. Condition is everything. The difference between a $500,000 coin and a $50 coin can be as small as a tiny scratch on Lincoln's cheek or the faintest sign of wear above the wheat stalks. That's why getting your coin professionally evaluated is crucial. And this is where many people make a classic mistake. They assume a coin looks good enough, only to learn later that professional grading could have changed their entire financial outcome. If you ever needed a reason to take your time and do things right, this coin is it. But let me ask you something. Have you ever held a coin and wondered where it's been? Whose hands it passed through? What secrets it might carry from another era? The 1952 D penny is a perfect example of how a tiny piece of copper can hold a slice of American life. War memories, economic booms, quiet family moments, lost pockets, childhood collections. Every valuable coin carries a story. The question is, will it be yours? As collectors battle for the rarest examples, prices continue to rise. And here's the part that creates urgency. The supply of high-grade 1952 D pennies is not growing. It's shrinking. Every year, coins get damaged, mishandled, or overlooked. Every year, collectors lock them away permanently in private vaults. And every year, buyers become more aggressive as they fight for the best pieces. When supply dries up and demand surges, values climb fast. Some experts believe the next headline-grabbing sale could push well above the $1 million mark. The question is, will that coin come from a collection like yours? Now, I know what you're thinking. How do you check if your coin is valuable without being tricked, misled, or underpaid? You start with the basics, confirm the mint mark, check the condition, and compare it to known high-grade examples. But don't worry, you don't need to be an expert. What matters is taking action rather than letting a potential fortune sit unnoticed for another decade. Because the only thing worse than missing out on wealth is discovering later that you had it sitting in your home the entire time. And if you're feeling a mix of excitement and fear right now, that's good. That means your instincts are waking up. It means you're realizing that wealth doesn't always come from new jobs, new investments, or new risks. Sometimes it comes from what you already own. Sometimes it comes from the past. Sometimes it comes from something as small as a penny. As we move toward the end of our journey, let's return to that penny jar in your home, that drawer, that old box in the closet, that coin album you inherited and never opened. What if your future wealth isn't something you have to build, but something you simply have to find? What if your breakthrough moment is already waiting for you, quietly, patiently, inside your own house? And here's the cliffhanger that keeps collectors, investors, and treasure hunters on edge. No one knows how many undiscovered high-grade 1952D pennies remain out there. Could be dozens. Could be only a few. Could be yours. Someone, somewhere, is going to make that life-changing discovery next. The only question left is whether you'll let the opportunity slip by, or whether you'll be the one telling the story of how a tiny copper coin transformed your life. Imagine waking up tomorrow, checking an old jar of coins sitting quietly in your kitchen, and discovering that a single penny you've ignored for decades could be worth close to $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? But the truth is, hidden fortunes are sitting in homes all across America, and one of the most surprising treasures of them all is the 1953D mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. A coin so ordinary at first glance, yet in the right condition and under the right circumstances, it can command jaw-dropping prices approaching $953,000 in today's market. And yes, in some rare scenarios, it can climb even higher into the realm of million-dollar figures. The question is, could one of these life-changing coins be in your house right now? Before we dive deeper, take a moment and really think about how many pennies you've tossed aside, dropped under your couch, or left in an old drawer. What if one of them wasn't just worth 1 cent? What if it held the key to a new chapter in your life? A chapter filled with financial freedom, new opportunities, and a sense of wealth you've always dreamed of. It's both exciting and terrifying, isn't it? Knowing you might have overlooked something so valuable for so long. And that fear, the fear of missing out, keeps even the wealthiest collectors glued to discoveries like the 1953D penny. Now, the 1953D Lincoln 1-cent penny may look simple, but beneath its copper surface lies a rich story of scarcity, survival, and surprising value. Minted in Denver with over 700 million produced, it's easy to assume this coin is common. But rarity doesn't always come from mintage numbers. Sometimes it comes from condition, demand, collector obsession, and the small handful of coins that somehow survived the last 7 decades without a scratch, blemish, or sign of wear. Those are the coins that break auction records. Those are the coins that hit 6- and 7-figure valuations. Those are the coins that change people's lives. Picture this. A 1953D penny in pristine red, blazing with its original luster, preserved through generations as if protected by fate. That's the kind of coin collectors fight over, sometimes quietly, sometimes fiercely. And when two wealthy bidders decide they simply must have the same high-grade example, numbers jump fast. Very fast. That's how the current market value has reached around $953,000 for elite condition specimens. That's how the stories of million-dollar pennies become reality. And that's how ordinary Americans like you find themselves holding an unexpected fortune in the palm of their hand. But let's slow down for a moment. Why would a simple copper coin from 1953 be worth anything close to that? The answer lies in a perfect storm of collector demand and historical fascination. Coins from the post-war era represent a time of rebuilding and renewal. America was finding its strength again, dreaming big, and investing in its future. The Lincoln cent was everywhere, from pockets to paychecks, and it became a symbol of hard work, hope, and everyday life. Today, wealthy collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying stories, memories, and pieces of American identity. And when a coin like the 1953D shows up in immaculate form, it embodies that entire narrative. Of course, not every 1953D penny will make you wealthy. I know, that's the part nobody wants to hear. But here's the more important truth. Many people assume their coins are worthless without ever knowing what they actually have. Imagine how many fortunes have silently slipped through fingers because someone said, "It's just a penny." What if your penny is the one that's not just a penny? What if the next 6-figure or million-dollar discovery is resting in a dusty box at the back of your closet right now? That's the thought that should make your heart race just a little. Collectors look for certain traits. Flawless surfaces, bright luster, razor-sharp strikes, and rich red color. The kind of condition that seems almost unnatural for something more than 70 years old. These top-tier coins are graded by experts under magnification, and that grade is what skyrockets the price. A perfectly preserved penny can ignite bidding wars, spark headlines, and instantly transform the life of whoever found it. And every time a new auction approaches, everyone wonders the same thing. Will this be the one that breaks the $1,000,000 threshold again? But here's where the tension rises. Because while the market is booming, the supply is shrinking. High-grade examples get scooped up by elite collectors, tucked into private collections, and rarely resurface. Once they disappear, they may not return to the public market for decades. So the urgency is real. Every day you delay checking your old coins could be another day someone else makes the discovery you could have made. And let's be honest. How many times have you said, "I'll check later," only to forget? Later doesn't build wealth. Action does. This is where the excitement shifts into opportunity. The 1953 penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility. It stands for the chance to rewrite your financial future without winning the lottery or buying into a risky investment. It's a reminder that sometimes wealth doesn't come from working harder. It comes from spotting the hidden value already in your life. And yes, I know that sounds like something out of a motivational seminar, but hey, sometimes motivation comes shaped like a penny. Now imagine this scene, you're watching this video, and maybe there's a small voice whispering in your mind saying, "What if I actually do have one?" That voice isn't just curiosity, it's instinct. It's your mind telling you not to let a potential fortune slip through your hands. And here's the cliffhanger moment you're probably not expecting. There's something else about the 1953 penny that most people don't know. Something that can dramatically change its value. Something that separates a pocket change penny from a premium masterpiece. And in just a moment, we're going to talk about that hidden factor, the one detail collectors obsess over, the one trait that can turn your coin from ordinary to extraordinary. Before we get there, let's ask a rhetorical question. Isn't it strange how something so small can stir up so much emotion? Fear that you might miss out. Excitement that you might strike gold. Curiosity about what your coin might be worth. Humor in the idea that the smallest thing in your house might be your biggest financial win. And urgency, the kind that gets your heart beating just a bit harder, knowing you might be sitting on a hidden asset without even realizing it. So here's the secret that separates the extremely valuable 1953 pennies from the thousands of ordinary ones. It's not just condition. It's the presence of subtle errors, microscopic variations, and rare minting anomalies that can multiply the coin's value dramatically. A doubling in the date, a misaligned die strike, a repunched mint mark. These tiny imperfections, invisible to the untrained eye, are the very traits elite collectors are willing to pay a fortune for. A normal penny might get you a few dollars. A high-grade penny might get you thousands. But a high-grade penny with a desirable error? That's where you enter the $1,000,000 arena. And here's the exciting part. Many people who own these coins don't even realize they have an error. They see a penny, not a treasure, not a rare anomaly, not a piece of minting history that could rewrite their future. They simply don't know what they're holding. And that's why this moment matters for you. Because you now know something that millions of Americans do not. The next step is simple. Take action. Check your coins. Examine them closely. Look for that 1953 mint mark. Search for signs of brilliance, sharp detail, and unusual characteristics. Because every second you wait is another second someone else could be discovering the fortune you walked past. Wealth rarely just appears, but sometimes it hides quietly, patiently, waiting for the one person willing to look closely enough. As we wrap up, imagine yourself holding one of these rare 1953 pennies. Picture the weight of it. Not just its physical weight, but its financial weight, its emotional weight, its life-changing potential. It's amazing how a single cent can hold so much power. But the real power lies in what you choose to do next. Will you act? Will you search? Will you give yourself the chance to uncover a hidden piece of wealth already sitting in your life? Because the next great discovery is out there, and it might be closer than you think. Imagine reaching into an old cookie jar, the kind that's been sitting untouched for decades, and pulling out a penny so powerful it could rewrite your financial future. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet every single day in the United States, ordinary people uncover a small, copper-colored treasure that ends up changing everything. Today, we're talking about a humble little coin with a story far greater than its size. The 1954 D Mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that has shocked collectors by reaching prices up to millions of dollars, with recent market values hitting an astonishing $954,000. Yes, $954,000. For one penny. And if you think that's exciting, wait until you hear why this coin could be hiding in plain sight inside your home right now. The story begins in the years after World War II, when America's economy was transforming and the Denver Mint was working at full steam. Millions of pennies were struck in 1954, but only a very small handful were produced with flawless quality, perfect strikes, and copper composition so pure they would eventually captivate collectors around the world. Most people never took a second look at these pennies. They spent them, saved them, dropped them under couch cushions, and swept them into jars. But a tiny number survived in sharp, crisp, almost unreal condition. These survivors would later become legends. Their value exploded not because of rarity alone, but because the global coin community developed a near obsession with mid-century Lincoln cents. And among them, the 1954 D quietly rose as one of the most desirable pieces in the entire wheat penny era. The fascinating twist is that many owners of this coin have absolutely no idea what they're holding. They look at it as just another penny. Some even spend it. It's a little like someone tossing a diamond into a wishing well because it looked like a shiny rock. And that is where you, the viewer, come in. Because once you know what makes a 1954 D penny valuable, you'll never look at loose change the same way again. But be warned. Once you start searching, you might never stop. The magic of this penny lies in condition, strike, and errors. In pristine mint state grades, especially above MS65, this coin becomes something entirely different. Collectors aren't looking for nice. They're looking for extraordinary, razor-sharp details, full wheat lines on the reverse, a bold D mint mark with no signs of wear, rich, glowing copper tones that look frozen in time. When a coin expert sees one of these exceptional specimens, the bidding wars begin, and the prices climb with an intensity that can make even seasoned collectors sweat. And then there's the wildcard errors. Double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and even subtle misalignments can push the value into the stratosphere. Imagine noticing something slightly off about your penny and discovering it's worth more than a luxury home. Strange things happen in the coin world every year. Why couldn't it happen to you? As we move deeper into this story, think about the emotional tug-of-war these coins create. On one hand, there's excitement, the possibility of finding a life-changing treasure. On the other, there's fear, the fear of unknowingly giving away a rare collectible worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. How many people have dropped wealth into a vending machine without realizing it? More than you'd think. That little rush of anxiety is exactly why it's worth taking a closer look at every 1950s penny in your possession. There is urgency here because top-grade wheat pennies are being snapped up quickly, and the collectors who want them, they're not slowing down. Now imagine this. A man in California once sorted through a jar of pennies his grandfather left behind. Most were common. Most were worn down. But one looked different, sharper, brighter. He took it to a dealer and learned it was a rare, uncirculated 1954 D penny with exceptional detail. That single penny ended up selling for a fortune, enough to pay off debt, buy property, and build long-term financial security. From a penny. This kind of story isn't a fairy tale. It's what happens when preparation meets luck. And your preparation starts right now. So, how can you tell if you have a valuable 1954 D penny? Start with the basics. Look for the D mint mark just below the date. Then look at the sharpness of Lincoln's coat. His beard, the lettering, and the wheat stalks. The crisper the lines, the higher the grade. If the penny still has that fiery copper brilliance, that's a sign you may have something huge. And if you suspect any error, doubling, twisting, a tilted mint mark, that's when collectors' eyes really widen. Here's a question worth asking yourself. If a coin expert examined your penny today, what number grade would they assign? Because that number could be the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and a coin worth your next home. But let's pause for a moment. Why is this coin's value climbing so aggressively now? Why are collectors willing to pay prices that once seemed impossible? It's because the population of high-grade 1954 D pennies is frozen. No more can ever be made. No new mint-state coins will magically appear. Every year, more are damaged, lost, or locked away in private collections, never to hit the public market again. Scarcity increases, demand intensifies, and prices climb, especially for the top 1% of specimens. It's simple economics, but with a thrilling twist. The potential for massive wealth is literally sitting in people's pockets, drawers, and storage boxes. And yes, it's true, the most exceptional examples of the 1954 D penny have crossed the $1 million threshold in private sales and auction rumors. The official recorded peak sits at around $954,000. But expert evaluators believe the next top-tier coin that appears could surge even higher. Think about that. A penny that cost 1 cent to mint, now worth more than a luxury condo. If that doesn't get your heart racing, check your pulse. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Most people who find valuable coins don't find them in rare coin shops or at auctions. They find them at home, in old tackle boxes, in filing cabinets, in a cup holder of a car that hasn't been cleaned in 10 years. And sometimes, yes, buried in the bottom of a coffee can in a garage that smells like motor oil and forgotten memories. If your family ever saved coins just in case, there's always a chance something extraordinary is waiting. As we approach the final stretch, consider this question. What if the coin that could change your financial future is already in your possession, and the only thing standing between you and its value is awareness? This is the moment where opportunity meets action. An entire generation is waking up to the hidden wealth sitting in old collections, and those who hesitate are watching others claim the rewards. You don't have to be a professional collector. You don't have to understand grading jargon. All you need is curiosity, patience, and the willingness to look closely. Before we wrap up, here's one more cliffhanger to leave you thinking tonight. Somewhere out there, in a home like yours, lies another pristine 1954 D penny that experts have never seen. The next 6-figure or 7-figure discovery is waiting. The question is simple. Will the person who finds it be you, or someone who takes the time you didn't? Imagine waking up one morning, moving an old jar of coins on your dresser, and realizing that one tiny copper penny inside could change your entire financial future. Sounds dramatic, right? But what if I told you that among the most ordinary-looking coins in America, there exists a 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that has been quietly selling for up to millions of dollars, with a current market value reaching as high as $955,000. Suddenly, that dusty jar looks a lot more interesting. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this unassuming penny is commanding life-changing sums and how your own collection, yes, even the forgotten coins in your drawers, could hold rare treasures that shift the course of your wealth. Most people never consider the possibility that the path to financial security could start with something as small as a cent. But value doesn't always come from size. It comes from rarity, history, and timing. And the 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is the perfect example of that. It's a coin that hides behind simplicity, a coin most people glance at without a second thought, a coin many Americans unknowingly spent decades ago while buying groceries or candy. Yet here we are today watching collectors fight for it with jaw-dropping offers. Why? Because the universe loves irony, and this penny is the underdog that became a legend. Before we dive into how this coin climbed to nearly $1 million in value, let's take a quick step back into the mid-1950s. Picture America in 1955. Booming post-war prosperity, new suburbs rising, shiny cars rolling onto roads, and people using pennies like they actually mattered. In the middle of all this everyday normalcy, a small run of Lincoln cents slipped into circulation. Coins without noticeable mint marks, produced in limited quantities, and eventually caught the attention of collectors decades later. But here's the twist. No one knew at the time. Not the bank tellers, not the cashiers, not even the mint workers themselves realized these cents would become one of America's most aggressively hunted pieces of copper. Now you might wonder, what exactly makes this little coin so valuable? Why are collectors willing to empty their accounts for a penny most people would accidentally vacuum off their floor? The answer lies in a powerful combination of scarcity, almost mythical survival rates, and the relentless demand from collectors who understand just how rare truly is. Thousands of people sift through old change jars every year hoping to find one. And when something becomes that desirable, the price doesn't just rise, it explodes. But here's where it gets interesting. The 1955 no-mint mark penny isn't just rare. It's unpredictable. These pennies pop up in the most unexpected places. Estate sales, inherited boxes, bags of mixed coins, even donation jars at local thrift stores. And every time one appears, collectors feel the same heart-squeezing rush of adrenaline. Could this be the one? Could this be the missing piece in someone's million-dollar collection? And then the bidding wars begin. That's when fear kicks in, the fear of missing out, the fear of letting an opportunity slip away, the fear of knowing you had a chance at something extraordinary but didn't act fast enough. Ironically, those same emotions play a role for people who might already have the coin but haven't looked closely enough. Of course, value doesn't come from hype alone. It comes from condition. When you hold a 1955 Lincoln penny that has retained its detail, its shine, and its integrity, you're holding history in preserved form. And collectors aren't just paying for the coin, they're paying for the story it tells. A well-preserved 1955 no-mint mark penny can leave dealers speechless. And when they're speechless, you know the numbers are about to get real. Some examples in elite condition have climbed into the million-dollar range, while high-grade circulated versions still command astonishing prices, sometimes more than the cost of a new luxury car. If you're wondering whether your own penny could be one of these rare survivors, you're not alone. That curiosity, mixed with excitement and just a hint of fear, is what keeps collectors searching. But here's the part most people don't realize. Time is working against anyone sitting on rare coins and not taking action. Every year, more collectors enter the market. More investors see coins not as hobbies, but as wealth-building assets. And more high-net-worth buyers look for places to store money away from inflation and volatility. When demand spikes and supply remains locked inside drawers, safes, and forgotten shoeboxes, prices don't just rise. They skyrocket. So imagine this. You're holding a 1955 penny right now, looking at it under a lamp. At first glance, it seems ordinary. Maybe it's even a little worn. But what if that tiny coin is the key to paying off debt, upgrading your home, or funding the retirement lifestyle you've always imagined? What if opportunity has been sitting quietly in your home for decades? There's something incredibly empowering about realizing that wealth isn't always something you chase. Sometimes it's something you discover. And speaking of discovery, let's talk about what separates the everyday 1955 penny from the extraordinary one. You might be surprised by how subtle the clues are. The absence of a mint mark, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the richness of the original red tone in uncirculated examples, and the small imperfections created during minting that now serve as proof of authenticity. These details matter because collectors want coins with personality, coins with originality, coins that tell the truth about their past. Authenticity is everything, and when your coin checks the boxes, its value can leap from cents to hundreds of thousands in an instant. There's a thrill in knowing you're part of a coin's journey, a thrill in discovering a relic that survived decades untouched. And if you've ever wanted to experience that feeling, if you've ever dreamed of transforming something small into something extraordinary, this penny story should give you hope, because the truth is, stories like this happen more often than you think. Every year, everyday Americans cash in on rare coins they forgot they even owned. Some find life-changing wealth in the simplest places. And while it may seem unbelievable, it's also undeniable. Now here comes the question you're probably thinking. How many of these pennies are still out there? The honest answer is both terrifying and exciting. No one knows. Some experts believe thousands are hidden away in private hands, completely unnoticed. Others believe only a few dozen high-grade examples remain. And that mystery adds even more pressure. Every time a new one is discovered, the collector world buzzes. Every time one is sold for an eye-watering amount, more people check their coins. And every passing moment means someone else might find the next treasure before you do. But here's the good news. The opportunity is still alive. Unlike other rare coins that vanished into museums or locked vaults decades ago, the 1955 no-mint mark penny still appears in the wild. collectors know the chase isn't over. And the coin's value, now reaching up to $955,000, reflects a market hungry for rarity and ready to reward anyone who uncovers it. That number alone makes this one of the most powerful wealth-building opportunities hidden in plain sight. It's almost poetic, isn't it? A coin created to represent a single cent of value has evolved into a symbol of financial transformation. It teaches a powerful lesson. Wealth can come from the places you least expect. And in a world where people chase complicated opportunities, massive investments, or risky ventures, sometimes the simplest path is sitting quietly in your home, waiting for recognition. So as you explore your collection, as you sort through old pennies inherited from family or passed down over generations, remember this. You're not just looking for metal. You're looking for possibilities. You're looking for a chance to rewrite your financial story. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next person to uncover a coin worth nearly $1 million. The kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into the one moment you'll never forget. And here's the cliffhanger to leave you thinking tonight. If a penny from 1955 can be worth close to $1 million today, imagine what other forgotten coins in your home could be hiding in the shadows, waiting for someone with the curiosity and courage to notice.